All right. Good morning, everybody. I'm Ryan Nance with North Carolina's Electric Cooperatives. Hope you folks are doing well. This short video is primarily for our local economic developers. And first and foremost, just want to thank each and every one of you for really teaming up with us on a partnership. Certainly, our organization, our statewide cooperatives, our local electric cooperatives, and the Timmons Group, who is helping us on the technical side with this program. We're super excited to have their experience and leadership on this. You guys see Joe Hines. Many of you know Joe and Mac McKenzie. You've probably gotten plenty of emails from myself and Mac along the way, pulling some teeth, but all for the greater good and the site readiness of sites across the state. So again, our cooperative serving 93 of the 100 counties here in North Carolina. So from the coast to the mountains, a really great portfolio of sites, many of which you guys have invested time, blood, sweat, and tears throughout many years, knowing that product development is very much a marathon and not a sprint. We've heard that saying before. But again, Joe and Mac from the Timmons team, myself, Nate Groover could not be here today, but you guys will see a lot of Nance and Nate on the road, and whether in person through teams of really getting this together. But all in all, the point of this short video is just talk about kind of where we're at and next steps, and really how to get the most out of this investment, certainly from us, and leveraging that with other partners. I'll say before we really get into it, almost on a weekly basis, certainly monthly, we're in communications with Golden Leaf Commerce and the other players out there with product development resources, in doing everything we can to be clear and leverage these dollars to the best that we can. So with that said, this is really just an update on where we're at. We're going to get into a slide that I've shared with our statewide board, and really what is the market realities right now. And I know Joe is, I've heard him talk directly about some of these points, but just how so many of the good sites are gone now. And these are the good problems that we create with the success that North Carolina's had and all your hard work out there. And the challenges that come with identifying new sites, and many of which have those development challenges. Joe, did you want to jump in quickly and kind of give a broader scope in what you guys are seeing? Certainly, we know what's going on here in North Carolina, but Timmons operates across the Southeast.
No, thanks, Ryan. And as Ryan mentioned, my name is Joe Hines. I am with Timmons Group, Director of Economic Development and Senior Principal. I'm also an NC State grad, so go Pack! Howl.
Go Wolfpack.
Yeah. Anyway, we're very appreciative of the opportunity to work with the North Carolina Electric Cooperatives team, as well as all the individual cooperatives themselves. And I know Ryan mentioned 93 of the 100 counties, and I think that 70+% of North Carolina is covered in cooperative area. So your probability of success goes up significantly with that coverage area. But as Ryan mentioned, we're really routinely in this business, and as we consistently see or have seen, almost all the good sites have been consumed in the marketplace, and now most of the available sites are getting consumed. But really what it comes down to is every site has their development challenges, and the question is, what can you easily mitigate before the prospect shows up? And we look at it through the lens of, I get the phone calls from usually the other engineer on the other side of the fence saying, Joe, tell me anything and everything that can go wrong with the site from a permitting, cost, risk perspective, so I can quantify those risks and timelines and get it back to my client. So while the development costs are definitely increasing, one thing to keep in mind, and this is the business side of me coming out, the site development and infrastructure development costs are a one-time expense. And the companies and localities obviously need to look at the long-term ROI. So while construction prices are increasing, so are investment numbers as well. A couple of years ago, $1 billion prospect was very unusual. Now it seems to be commonplace. So obviously, those sites moved in the right direction. The other element that we have to keep in mind is you can move workforce to a good site, but you can't necessarily move a good site to a workforce. And if you look at that across North Carolina in the electric cooperatives area, There are probably very few places where you're less than a 45-minute drive from a very heavily populated area where you can get that workforce. So that's one of the things to consider every time we look at a site through that lens.
Nice. Nice.
So looking at it through that lens, Ryan, Ryan and I have talked about this quite exhaustively. You know, we try to present what we call an unbiased look, which is a preliminary site developability score. And we have utilized this working in other states, trying to analyze, you know, what are the elements that make a site successful and give it the highest probability of success. And that includes elements like the site issues, the transportation issues, the electrical issues, the utility issues. All those elements need to go into what we want to do as an unbiased look at a site. In other words, if you have a great site, but it's 10 miles away from critical infrastructure, then that might not be worth developing. If you have a really great infrastructure story, but the site development challenges are pretty cumbersome, you at least can look at it through that lens and say, is it worth the time and effort to get there? And this is intended to provide that look. Now things can change over time, but we try to account for all the different elements that go into what a site selector looks for in a site. So the other thing we've done is we've developed what we call a site readiness roadmap. And that's essentially moving a site from the day you identify it through the logical steps that take place to get the site where it's considered prospect ready or a certifiable site. We have developed this program around the North Carolina Site Certification Program and what we consider to be current market demands for prospect ready sites. We also review and analyze 19 statewide site development programs to make sure that we're accounting for everything that other states are accounting for as well too. But what this does is it helps the prospects minimize that risk, cost, and construction delays or schedule delays that could keep them from getting their facility running. And we consider what is a ready site tier 4 as a prospect ready site and a certifiable site within the context of the entire country.
Yeah. And just a quick note, I mean, the due diligence dollars from our program ideally get the site close or right at that tier 4. Is that correct, Joe?
Yeah, that's correct, Ryan. That's the intent is to spend the money that is the appropriate amount of money to spend to get you to the highest position to succeed for delivering that infrastructure on time. So
yeah. So what you guys see even further down the road and utilizing even other sources. Many of you familiar with the USDA Red Leg program. If you wanted to take your site as far as a shell building, spec building, then certainly we have the 0% interest loan dollars there to help out with that. And really quick, an overview of how this is rolling. Right now, we have a set of sites in the program, and going forward, a really simple application that our local electric cooperative would submit to us. And of course, they would be working closely with you on this, but they would be as part of that application process coming up with a 25% local match. So if you think of simple numbers, 20,000 from our statewide organization, 5,000 from the local team, and really helping kind of max out some due diligence dollars right there. We can flip to the next slide, Mac, then just kind of where we're at getting towards the end of this summer is really kind of targeting this top 10 sites and that low hanging fruit and getting some work done that may need it. That's again working with the local cooperatives, you guys, Timmons, and us to get these through. And this will be a process from here, especially over the next kind of 6 to 12 months, and even over the next 2 years of looking at 30 to 40 sites, of doing our best to invest in the due diligence that needs it and really enhance the marketing. And that kind of gets us into our next slide here, which some of you have seen, got some good input from local economic developers in trying to put forth a really high quality 2-page flyer. We know is the speed of business and the consultants that often come around, as well as the companies, and say, hey, just give us an example of some of the best sites based on some limited criteria. All we're interested now is a brochure, but we can do it in a way where we can pack in some really great information and help position those sites for greater attention and success. So you see on the left side, page 1, the details may be small, but again, attention to detail within this and being very clear and upfront is what due diligence has been done, the how recent that is with a timestamp on the year that it was finished, and even and you see the small red box right there. Those are going to be button hyperlinks to a drone video, to a detailed site analysis report, to a detailed demographics report. So obviously you try and get everything in on a flyer and it confuses people and you lose the user friendliness of it. But with embedding the hyperlinks and additional investment on the marketing front from drone videos and other analysis, that's really our point here, is right up front that a consultant or a company can see that this site has got the TLC that it needs, and they can determine quickly of whether or not we should take next steps on it. With that, page 2, some basic facts that you saw right there on labor force and what you're seeing in your counties for the top 5 employers, as well as direct contact information of you at the county, as well as our local cooperative in the Timmons group. So Mac, jumping into that last point right there, the detailed site analysis report, I'll hand this back to Joe, but right now we're focusing kind of on our top 10 sites, then we'll move on to the next sites. But this the experience Timmons had in Virginia and elsewhere, and that's where Joe's going to come back in and talk a little bit more about this detailed site analysis report.
Sure, thanks, Ryan. And yeah, one of the things that we were seeing that was a challenge in the industry is we weren't getting consistent site analysis information coming in from when we were sitting on the side, because we do consult with site selection consultants on a regular basis as part of their team analyzing sites. We also work with the local government and cooperative side of things as well too. And we just were not seeing a lot of consistency in the reporting. So we worked over the years to develop what we consider the equivalent of a CPA financial audit of a site. And each of these reports is reviewed. We look at the information that is submitted. We vet it, not too differently than a CPA does with financial statements for a company. We determine where it is in terms of the building blocks of the site program and the development process. And then we will look at that through the lens of where are you in the development process and what do you need to do to get to the next step. We look at infrastructure issues as well too, and we incorporate all that into the report, like how much water and sewer do you have available, how much power can be delivered within the first 12 months, and then on a long-term ramp up. All those elements we try to incorporate in this report. At the end of the report, we have a recommendation slide of next steps, which is intended to get you to where you're in a fundable financeable stage for that. In other words, what are your next elements you need to do to get the site ready to go? And are there any additional preliminary engineering reports that need to be done? Traffic impact assessment reports, all the elements that NCDOT or Water or Sewer Authority or any other agency would want to see that you need a detailed report on before you can go to more detailed financing. And each of these reports is going to be signed and sealed by a professional engineer in North Carolina. Blake Hall, working out of a Raleigh office, has worked with a number of you already. I had my first license certification in North Carolina. I'll be sealing some of these reports as well too. But again, it's a fundamental building block in your site development program to understand what's next and what you need to do to be competitive.
Now that's perfect, Joe. So another way of putting that, as you guys are going out, you have this report in hand, and you're empowered to go after all these available funding sources. Certainly, due diligence from our organization, USDA Red Legs, for more advanced site development needs, Golden Leaf, Commerce, at ARC, NC Railroad, other applications that you could attach this as supporting evidence and really help build a strong local partnership with your elected officials as we're moving this whole thing forward. So Joe, any final thoughts before we close this out? Again, I know it said Nate couldn't join us today. You guys are going to see me and Nate out there, phone calls and in person. And just, again, don't hesitate to give us a call. It's a team effort. and we're working through this and really excited about this opportunity. So any final
Well,
thoughts,
well,
Joe?
yeah, Ryan, when you mentioned the Nance and Nate tour, I was thinking about maybe like y'all could join Hootie and the Blowfish back in the day, and touring around with them. But no, we're going to have to come up with some type of branding name for the Nate and Nance tour, and y'all sound like Simon and Garfunkel or something like that going around the North Carolina.
Yeah, good times ahead. So thanks for that point and a little bit of levity on that. Certainly, you guys will continue to see Mac pop up, dusting up any final punch list items, so we can get to these detailed reports. But just want to thank you and really helping move the needle forward for rural North Carolina. It's crucially important and not always easy, but if we work together, we can really make this happen. So. Hope you guys have a great day. Just give us a call. Don't be afraid to pick up the phone. Thank you.
Thanks.